Hello everyone, I've officially reached Conqueror this season, and I did so by playing primarily House of Lancaster. So today I wanted to create a video that it was a build order guide for this civilization, because I've been finding on YouTube a lot of the build order guides were created back when House of Lancaster was first released with the DLC, when they were completely broken. They've since gone through a lot of nerfs, so a lot of the build orders online kind of have different tweaks where the villager allocation just isn't quite right based on the nerfs that have come through. So I wanted to create a video based on my experience, the one that I tweaked to be kind of the most efficient and the one that I found a lot of success with on the ladder. We're going to be jumping into the build order here first, and then I also have another match to watch. It was actually the match taking me from Diamond 3 to Conqueror 1 against a Mongol player where I was under a lot of pressure. This build order is kind of be for like the best case scenario where you're under very little pressure, you're able to boom straight to 9 manners. This is the most efficient way to do that. And then the game itself is going to be more of a look at what happens when you're under early pressure. How do you adapt? How do you evolve the build order? And yeah, kind of adapt to the pressure as somebody's banging down on your base. I'm going to be playing this build order live. I know a lot of people online kind of record it in advance and then talk over it. I want to record this live so that way you can kind of follow along, play along, and kind of even do this side by side if you so choose. And the timing is going to be very consistent from the start to the end. There's going to be no fast forwarding or anything like that throughout the course. So without further ado, let's jump right into things here and see what we've got. All 6 villagers immediately move onto the sheep, and you rally your first villager out here onto the gold vein. What I like to do is I like to right-click my sheep over in this direction and then press the S key to stop them. I also have Control F, and in that case I can cycle through my food-gathering villagers just to kill a few additional sheep, so that way they're not all going to be doing that same animation later on to kind of kill the sheep and herd them in that way. You also want to take one villager and build a single house 2 tiles away from your town center, so you can eventually surround your town center with farms, because of course Lancaster do not have the same farming bonus that the English have. I like to put 2 villagers out here onto the gold and then rally onto the food. However, if you want to keep things simple, it is also completely fine to rally 3 onto the gold and then just come back to rallying onto the food until the age up. In this case, I'm going to be rallying back onto the food for 7, back to the gold for 1 more for 3, and then onto the food until the age up. I just find that the allocation of resources works out a little bit better in that case, and but it's not a huge, it's a small optimization. If you feel you're overwhelmed in doing so, don't even worry about it. So again, this is Dry Arabia, so I'm kind of coming down the one side of the map and then coming back on the other. This is the scouting kind of pattern that I like to do on this map. Rallying back onto the sheep now. And I hope you're using control groups in your matches. If you are, I personally have my scout on 1. Feel free to have your scout on whatever number you so choose, whichever you're most comfortable with. However, I also use my villagers a little bit in the early game, especially when I'm trying to be a little bit more efficient or less aggressive. I'm not going to be using my army for hotkeys in the near future. I'm more than happy to use my villagers. So what I've done is I've put 1 set of villagers into a control group ready to build the landmark just close to the gold vein here. I also have another set of villagers underneath my TC of 3 that are going to be going very quickly over to this, wrong one, over to this wood line. So you can see very quickly do this, jump in, pop out, over here, and I also want to grab 3 villagers here and jump over to the stone. Not ideal. You want to have, like in the best case scenario, you want, sorry, I actually want to also rally onto the wood as soon as you age up. That was a bit of a mistake, but part of doing it live, I suppose. So yeah, we want to be rallying onto the wood until you have 8 from this point forward. But as I was saying, you want to have your gold and stone ideally side by side. In this case, it's not too bad because it's in the back of my base. If I need to, I could probably put a defensive wall right here, and then otherwise my opponent's going to have to go all the way around in order to harass my stone gathering villagers. Obviously, since I'm against an easy AI, I'm not expecting a great deal of early pressure coming in from that side. The next thing I like to do is I like to take this villager out of the control group so that I just have these 2 left. And these 2 villagers in this control group are going to be my manor constructors. They're going to be the ones building all the manors for the most part as the game continues. But yeah, these villagers are going to stay on stone for a very long time. It was one of the issues I was having with an earlier version of my build order, when I was kind of tweaking things, I was having far too much walking time. These guys ideally are not going to move at all until this has been fully mined down. And eventually to 300. That's the point where we're trying to get to on the stone vein. Just to keep in mind as the game continues forward. Still trying to scout the map, doing a decent job. Obviously saw the enemy's con. I'm facing a Mongol player here. I now have 8 villagers onto the wood. So I'm now rallying villagers onto the stone. I need 1 more villager on stone for a total of 4. And then that's everybody who needs to be there. You can see here that I'm running up towards my population cap, but we're not building a house. And in fact, it was one of my qualms with a lot of the build orders after going to stone, you're immediately going to gold, and you want to build your first manor as soon as the age up happens. But one of my qualms was that people were building a house with this. You want the manor to be your house. It's going to give you 10 population space anyways, and if you're able to do this efficiently and effectively, this is going to be done just in time so that you're not going to be population capped in any way, shape, or form. Apologies if you can hear a little bit of sickness in my voice. It's one of the reasons why I haven't been uploading as frequently recently, just getting over a cold. One of the classic things, you know, now where you're you've been sick and you've been feeling terrible, but now you feel better, but you sound much, much worse. That's what I'm doing now. I'm just a bit congested, that's all. So yeah, continuing to build more houses, more manors, I should say, and rallying out here onto the gold vein. And very soon, I would say once you're probably about halfway done this manor, and maybe even a bit earlier, I'm actually going to pull these 3 villagers over here onto the gold. I'm going to have enough passive food generation from these manors alone to float the villager production that I need for essentially the rest of the game. And I really want to get as much gold in here as possible so I can get condensed land practices ASAP. That's my, my #1 priority at the moment. These guys continuing, we're going to have them rallied onto the gold once the 3rd one is completed, just in case that's not quite ready. And things are looking good. Still about 80 gold away on that front. So there will be some idle time here from completing this to having the land practices complete. It is what it is. You don't want to have things being too easy, right? I'm actually going to drop off here, force drop, and then I can immediately start going up. There's going to be a little bit of idle time, but not too much, which is nice. Keeping my stone villagers going over on this side, rallying continuously onto the gold. I'm actually going to take 2 villagers off of the gold and then rally onto the wood next. Where'd they go? There we go. Perfect. I just need a little bit of extra wood as things go forward. This is about to complete. I have plenty of stone in the bank to continue, so again, using these villagers to go ahead and build that. Gonna go up for a total of 12 on wood and then rally back onto the food. That's the next kind of priority. As soon as I have enough wood, I'm gonna be building another manor here. Just scouting my opponent, seeing where his stuff is at, because at this point I have the majority of the map up and running. We're not gonna pay too much attention to what the easy AI is actually accomplishing, because I think we can all agree we're better at players than that, but yeah, we can just take a quick look around here, try to find out finally where his town center is, and there it is. Don't have quite enough stone. Very close, though. Just another drop-off quickly. We'll have that final manor being constructed. And as soon as I'm able to, once I have 200 wood here, I'm going to be going up with the open field system. Going to be very close here to gathering the correct amount of gold and the correct amount of wood. It lines up very close to perfect. And now we're set. I would say at this point you really don't need the 2 villagers on each manor. You can just build them with 1 at a time. Again, as I said earlier on, you want to be getting down to 300 on this stone, so be keeping an eye on that. Continuing our constant villager production, focusing on the food, because we do need to start to macro up towards that that castle age. And very soon after this completes, and the 6th manor is complete, we're going to be able to build up towards 9, which is exactly where we want to be. Get back over onto this side. And then just like that, we're good to go with the next manor. I have a lot of villagers here on gold, and I'm going to actually continue to rally that going forward, because we need both muster the nobles still, and then also obviously our age up. So that's what we're looking at next. Still working on the last bit of the stone there. As soon as you have 100 stone. Perfect. I'm actually going to take 3 villagers off of the wood now, because I have plenty of wood coming in passively from all this. I'm going to leave 8 because you do need a decent amount of wood as you move into a more aggressive stage of the game. I'm about to explain. Easy AI reaches feudal age. Keep up the good work, buddy. And again, we're keeping an eye on that 300 number right here. And just like that, 300 stone, we take these guys off and we immediately move them over onto the food because we want to get up to that correct amount, and we build the final manor. I like building my manors back and towards the town center because these, while they do have arrow slits thanks to being in the range of the Lancaster castle, they're a little bit weak. They're a little bit fragile, you could say. So having them closer to the TC is just a bit better. Obviously, this completely protects my gold. And in fact, I probably could have gone for this stone out here. And that way the Lancaster castle could have protected both. Something I should have considered would have maybe been a better choice. I'm actually going to go up with the King's College here. I like to use 8 villagers on the age up. That's a good amount. It allows the rest to keep going. And then I missed this, actually. And in fact, I've messed this up ever so slightly because I should have done this the other way around. Instead of aging up, I should have mustered the nobles when this was about halfway complete. In doing so, I would have been able to muster the nobles right when this manor was done. Instead, I ended up doing this a bit earlier. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's not ideal. I'm immediately going to be building a single barracks, a single archery range, and a single blacksmith with my wood villagers here because I have so much passive wood coming in. I want to have a bunch of that up and running by the time I do hit that castle age. And I still want to be rallying onto the gold. You're going to be very, very gold hungry when you immediately get into this castle age timing. And just like that, we've got ourselves our demi-lancers. Going to come out here and start our raiding as much as we possibly can. I'm going to take myself and get iron undermesh first as an upgrade. I'm also going to get myself a double broadaxe. Might as well take one of these villagers and build a mill so I can get wheelbarrow very quickly. As I said, you're about to jump into a lot of different gold stuff. I'm going to bring these guys back onto the sheep. That's more important to me right now. And then I immediately build myself a monastery because I want to collect the relics. I upgrade my spears and archers. My demi-lances are ready to go. And now you move into a different phase of the game where you're essentially being much more aggressive. I'm actually going to build another barracks and archery range back here. And again, rally up to the front. And of course, this is an easy AI, so I can just kind of do whatever I want up here on the front. But you can see that's what you want to do. And immediately getting this monk out to go straight across to whatever relics you can find at this point in the game. So that's how you want to do it. Obviously made a bit of a mistake there in terms of going with the age up before going with muster the nobles. Do as I say and not as I do, as you normally kind of say, the saying goes. But that's what you want to do. In terms of team composition, or army composition, I should say, going from this point, you definitely want the spears. Getting that upgrade that allows you to decrease their armor, the enemy's armor when they get attacked by the spearmen is really great. And then it depends on what they're building, whether you want to go for the yeomen or you want to go for crossbows. If they're building a lot of knights, if they're building a ton of man-at-arms, don't be afraid to go crossbows. Obviously, you see the pros all the time jumping into massive yeomen kind of masses that are able to do huge amounts of damage with synchronized shot. Just pay attention to what your enemy is building and counter that. Don't try to copy these guys. They're better at micro than I will ever be. And so in that case, make sure you're building against what's coming your way. And maybe you want to kind of move into hobilars as the game continues. And yeah, that's kind of the build order. Hopefully that was helpful. And now I want to jump into a game where I played against a Mongol player, funnily enough, in my last game, ranking up from Diamond 3 to Conqueror 1 to show you what happens when you don't have all the time in the world to build 9 manors around your gold. When things are a little bit more stressful, it's still very easy, I think, to implement these kind of general rules and build yourself up a significant force and crush your opponent. So let's jump into that right now. All right, so we're back. We're going to jump right into this game here, and we are going to speed things up ever so slightly just because we don't want this video to be 800 years long. We've already gone through the build order. If you need to review it, go back and review that portion of the video. But this is what we're doing now. So you can see, similar thing, sending out to the gold. I'm going to actually toggle the Fog of War for myself here just so you can see what I was seeing. I'm in great shape. I have a kind of gold here, but I'm going to actually maybe put my Lancaster castle over here where there's both a gold and a stone. It's going to be much safer on that side. And you can see I do the exact same thing. Going ahead with these villagers here, taking 3 over onto the stone, 3 over onto the wood, and rallying onto the wood. But when do things get spicy? When does it get dicey? Pretty soon. This is a Mongol player. Mongols are pretty good against a lot of civilizations. I think they have a rough matchup into House of Lancaster. I think they're actually quite weak against them. I love seeing Mongol on the other side when I'm playing these guys. I find House of Lancaster has really good matchups into a lot of different people, but I would say that HRE has been a struggle for me. I find they're just good at, rushing castle and doing a bit of a man-at-arms rush, or, even just collecting all the relics and then being in very, very good position, even though you have a lot of manners at that point in time. And away we go. So again, 2 villagers here building this. Got actually another villager here building this gold mine. I'm abandoning this one because I want to be more safe around this side. I'm looking around. I'm seeing that he's going up with the deer stones. I don't see any sort of military buildings. I lame his deer here so he can't push that into his town center. And still continuing up with the exact same build order that I was showing you before. I'm going to swap over here. You can see the worker allocation split is the same. And we're continuing to move up the chain. So nothing too bad so far. And for the most part, you're going to be in decent shape trying to get forward. If you're ever in a position where you're being tower rushed as the House of Lancaster, your villagers have short bows. They can kill anybody who shows up. We got the hardened Khan jumping in here, just trying to see. I'm not really expecting any damage so far. I haven't seen anything from my opponent, but if we jump in here, you can see the Keshiks are about to start coming in. So I have a lot of villagers over here. I'm macroing towards getting that condensed land practices. We have these guys coming here, and he's actually trying to tower rush the gold on this side, which is an interesting choice. And as soon as I see these coming through, I immediately start building myself a barracks. And this is where things deviate. So I have not gone for... Have I? Oh yes, I have. So I've successfully done this. I'm now building up my next one. But now I'm going to start to slow things down a little bit. I'm going to be macroing more towards protecting my my different things. I've moved these guys back so that way, they can be protected by this. Of course, there's no garrison spots within these buildings. So I'm just kind of trying to poke and move back. I'm just building this up quickly with all of them. More than happy to have him running in and out here. He's doing no damage to my villagers, causing a bit of idle time, sure. You can see I'm building up my spearman mass here, and very soon I'm going to be able to deal with anything that these guys have to throw my way. So not concerned. This villager, I think, was just outside of my vision range. No, actually, it was in vision. I probably should have pulled a bunch of these guys to kill those. But, just goes to show that even Diamond 3 Conqueror 1, you're not necessarily good at the game. We got some horsemen and Khan trying to loop around on this side. I'm really happy with how things are currently going. Currently have 5 manners, and this is the thing. This is putting my opponent into an all-in position. He is not doing anything economically to boost himself up. And in doing so, that means that I am just going to be getting further and further ahead the more time that goes on. I just need to make sure that I'm kind of keeping myself safe from anything that's happening. Building up a nice outpost. Still happy. You can see I've moved not as many villagers onto the gold, and there's many more on both food and wood in order to kind of work on the spearman production. But I am going forward with these kind of 6 manners and have avoided taking any damage so far, which is perfect. This is a sneaky tower that I do not have vision of course, but we'll see how that goes in a couple moments. No spoilers. He's coming around. He doesn't have that much of a force, and so I'm more than happy to just, again, run away with my villagers. I walk a couple steps away, kill a horseman, and then just jump right back onto the gold, because I know I need a lot of gold. I've also jumped into getting broadaxe early, just because I knew I was going to be collecting a lot of that wood. And again, I'm just trying to keep an eye out for where he is. He does run in here, do a little bit of damage. Decent job keeping some of my villagers off of this wood line. And you can see I'm moving now into an archery range as well, just because I'm concerned. I know my opponent has a brain. He's not going to be stuck on doing one thing forever. So he comes over here and garrisons a bunch of his army, I think, in through here. Actually, no, maybe he doesn't. Anyways, I'm a bit slow to react here, so I do lose a couple of villagers through this particular raid. I think 3 or 4. 3 in this case. He loses a single villager just walking straight back into this. But I'm still in really great shape. Again, I have 6 manners, and I have equal army count. Now I have same villager count. I was even ahead earlier on. I don't even know that this is here, which is fairly funny. So I go back to chopping this wood on this side. I'm trying to create a wall here just so there's no way to sneak in on the one sides. And continuing to try to build up the force of both spearmen and yeomen, because that's what I want to do. And I do see now this Magadi is here. Oh, villager just walking to, of course, run around and work on the other side of this wall. That's 4 villagers down. So not playing this particularly well, but I'm still in great shape. I have actually now gone for open field system, I believe. Yep, so I am ready to get 9 manners whenever I have the additional time to do so. I've pulled my villagers off, having gone just past 300, and now I'm just trying to keep these villagers safe. He's going up with the arrow slits, and very soon I'm going to see that this tower is on this side going to be causing me some issues. But this is what I mean. So I'm under a fairly large amount of pressure. I have a lot of kind of damage that's been happening to me. I've been having to build an army in my base. I'm not paying attention, so this villager is probably going to go down thanks to this tower that's been coming through. So that's now 5 villager kills on my opponent's side. He's doing a good job taking me down, but I'm afraid he may end up losing to buildings. Do I lose 2 villagers here? Really? Really? Well, sometimes you suck, and this is a case where I was definitely sucking. 2 villagers? I don't lose 3, right? I noticed this eventually. I thought I noticed this right away. This is why you review your replays, folks. You come to the realization that that you definitely could have been better. So now 7 villager kills, slowly just whittling away on this wood line. I lose 4? What a disaster. I push forward here, and I really want to take down this tower. So I sacrifice a lot of my yeomen in order to take this down because I have just run out of gold on this side, and I do know that I need a continuation of this gold. More villagers going down here. I'm really, really completely distracted by this this fight I'm having here. Man, I had no idea that I lost so many. So this game could have been even easier, because let me tell you, this game ended up being quite easy. Finally notice, lost like 5 or 6 villagers to that. Absolute disaster. Building up to 8 manners now of the 9. Gonna grab a quick lumber camp over on this side. And now I have 2 archery ranges because I have a fairly large number of spearmen. It was my yeoman numbers there that were dwindled by kind of trying to get out here onto this gold vein. So moving some of my villagers out here onto the gold so I can continue to get closer to that age up. Almost speed things up again because I am a very, very happy camper. And I'm building my final manor, obviously significantly delayed thanks to the kind of damage my opponent was doing. Comes through, kills another villager, unfortunately. But even so, you can see even just by the score, which obviously is not necessarily indicative of everything, but that I'm in extremely great shape. He's coming forward because, as I said before, he's in a very, very all-or-nothing position. He's killed a number of villagers. He's in a decent lead, but my manners, with 9 of them, I'm absolutely cranking resources at this point in time. So he's realizing he needs a very quick man-at-arms rush to come in and essentially destroy me. And I'm not going to let that happen. Continuing to build up, but I do cut unit production once I see that he's in castle because I want to get to the next level. I get myself a market so I can sell off some of this wood, get enough gold, and just like that I have enough. I use my yeoman to try and pick off some more of these Magadi that are trying to be as pesky and as annoying as possible. But the range on these, this is why, you know, they're so good. I was able to pick off 4 just in that quick drive-by. And I'm going up with the King's College, and I'm rushing it because I do know that at any point in time you could be running forward, and in fact, there are 3 man-at-arms coming in. One of the reasons why, you know, Lancaster and their spearmen that debuff the enemies is so good is, you know, he has these armored units that are now much, much weaker. So I have enough of a force that I'm able to just walk in and, you know, debuff all of his man-at-arms. So he doesn't even get his man-at-arms past, like, right here in order to come into my base. Focused on getting as much gold as possible. Should probably be jumping up and getting a monastery up very quickly, but am distracted trying to take down these barracks so that this rush doesn't end up causing me problems. I've moved immediately into crossbows because I see that he has a fairly major commitment into these man-at-arms. And I start to move my villagers over here onto, I think, this gold vein, which is the next closest. He's got a market over here, maybe with the thoughts of using a silver tree potentially to be trading. That never comes to fruition in any way, shape, or form. You can see he has a single unit on the field, now up to 4, but he has 11 man-at-arms in queue. It's not enough. And I'm really happy. 2 monasteries, starting to get these relics to come back to my base. I'll speed things up because at this point in time, you know, there's really not much else to say. My opponent has 3 military units. He tries to come in here and attack these villagers on the gold vein. I'm very quickly going to come over here and destroy all of his villagers on the gold, and the game is over. So that was my game, taking me from Diamond 3 all the way up to Conqueror 1, as you can see here, and I played like garbage. I lost like 6 villagers to a tower behind my woodline that I didn't notice for like a minute and a half, and even so was able to win, because with this strategy, if you're able to kind of absorb that pressure, keep the manor construction at least a little bit consistent, you're going to put yourself in a great position. One thing I will say, an opponent that goes 2 town centers versus your 9 manor boom will over time have the economic advantage. So if you do see your opponent going for 2 TCs, go for the 9 manors and then make sure you're protected and try and go an additional town center yourself. That might be the best case, or use those demi-lancers to kind of start raiding those villagers that were created from the multiple town centers to try and keep your opponent down. That will be my next suggestion. So some decent pressure on me early, managed to pull through with the win. I hope that this guide has been useful to you. If you have any feedback on the style or the way that it was constructed, let me know in the comments. And thank you so much for watching. We'll have some more AoE4 stuff coming your way. And that's all for now. Goodbye.